All right. Hi, everybody. In case we haven't met yet, I'm Aviva Rosenberg, and I'm the president of SSCPL. And this is a roundtable meant to be for us people who want to talk about their their library issues to talk about their library issues. Um, so if you've participated before, cool. If not, if this is your first time, then welcome. I hope people have questions or topics that they wanted to discuss, but I'm always willing to at least attempt to start a conversation. Um, and yeah, I should warn you though, I do need to leave at a certain point because I'm at work and I have a program that starts at 5 that I need to finish setting up for. But at that point, I can, I can leave David or someone as the host and you guys can keep talking if you're so inclined. Um, so I guess we can start by having everybody introduce themselves and say where you work. Um, and if you have any other AJL things going on, then you can always mention that as well. And then we can see what people need to talk about today. Does anybody want to volunteer to go first?
Sure. Hi, I'm Eileen Grossberg. I am a volunteer at one synagogue library in the town where I live, Montclair, New Jersey, and I am a paid librarian at another one in South Orange, New Jersey. I work mostly with the school, and I've been doing this for a long time.
Okay. Michelle, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Michelle Sandler. I work as a volunteer at Temple Beth David in Westminster, California. I've been there since about 2013. Before that, I was a librarian at a career college for 12 years. And before that, I worked at Temple Bat Yam part-time, very part-time in Newport Beach. And I have my master's in library science.
Great. Janice, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Janice Levine. I am volunteer librarian at Phillips Library, which is at Congregation Eitz Chaim in Marietta, Georgia. Um, I've been doing that for many, many years. I always joke that I got a lifetime contract like the rabbi. So, but as a volunteer, many, many years. And before that, well, and before I retired, I was a day school librarian for 18 years, and then after that, a college librarian at a technical college for 11 years. And I do have a library degree.
All right, so everybody's got a lot of experience here. That's awesome. Okay. Um, so let's see. I'm not sure. I don't at the moment have an idea if other people have registered. So hopefully if other people come along, we'll just pop them in and we'll have them, you know, jump right into the conversation. Did any of you have something specific that you wanted to talk about, either success or something that you're struggling with?
Did you tell us where you work?
Oh, sorry. So I'm actually a public librarian. I work at the Ridgefield Public Library which is in Bergen County, New Jersey. Um, and I also do occasional Sunday shifts at the Teaneck and Bergenfield libraries. But so yes, I'm here as an SSCPL person because honestly, I mean, first of all, we wanted to have, more things for SSCPL librarians to do. But also like I have worked in Jewish schools and I know what it's like to be a solo librarian and have, nobody who you work with who gets what you're trying to work on and what you're dealing with. And I feel like these discussions are just there's a lot of relief in talking to somebody who knows what you're doing and who understands the kind of things that you're trying to work out. Um, so yeah, and I need to hear from all of you to figure out what else AGL can do more of or do less of or whatever it is.
Well, my question for people is especially with between PJ Library and Kindle, I wonder how much your library books are actually getting checked out.
I don't know. I haven't, part-time. I mean, I'm not there. I'm doing most of my work at home on Resource Mate. my partner, who's a library assistant, goes in there and does the actual moving and shifting and lifting and, organizing and, I was in there today doing something for 10 minutes and I couldn't find the checkout box. We have a plastic checkout box in two of them now because we're in two places, actually three places in the synagogue. And I couldn't find the checkout box for the young kids section, which is about 800 and 900 books. And I know there was a checkout box in there. So I don't know at this point what's out.
My
Anita?
my circulation is not great. Uh, the kids don't have time in their religious school schedule, and though I do teach classes, and the library is on the second floor. So if they come to services or other activities that are in the activity area, people don't want to climb the stairs. But when they come in, they say, "Oh, you have such a great collection."
Well, we actually, right now we have K through 2, one of each grade that come in once a month. Well, actually, the library is now used as a classroom during religious school hours because we ran out of classrooms. So I take a cart of books to K1, 2, and we read them a story about once a month and we do book checkout. And that's the majority of my book checkout. And then I have a couple of teachers that actually check out books, especially the one who meets in the library. She's a fifth grade teacher. She uses the books a lot. But as far as the adult books, only only the book club books go out, and only to a handful of people because everybody else wants to read them on Kindle, so they can enlarge the print. So I'm
Ah,
just wondering how much longer they're going to let me run this library. But actually, with the K through 2 checking out, we actually have an online catalog. So,
to do.
so I keep stats of what gets checked out. And we do have some checkout, but not as much as I would like to see. But I don't know what you could do to get it any better, the way the world's going right now with electronic books and everything else.
I don't find that people want to use the Kindle so much, but it's just getting them in. Once they're in, they seem happy, and I do have some regular patrons. But I would really like to see like book club books. As soon as I hear that there's going to be a lecture or there's a book club, I'll buy the book, even if I hadn't been planning to. And I'll say, by the way, we have the book. They don't borrow them, which I think
They
is really
still.
weird.
Well,
Uh,
I mean, I'm in the book club. I don't run it,
oh,
but different people lead every month. There is
mm,
one person in charge. It's through Sisterhood. But we have a list for the book club, and I specifically send out to the book club members and say, I have these books, who wants to borrow? So, and when I'm at book club, so I will almost always buy the book for book club, unless it's a very popular book that they have a ton of copies in the public
yeah.
library. Well, actually, I did end up buying that the
Oh, that's a
Have
great
you
book,
had
though.
any
grocery
more
store
grocery
one
stores?
because it was a good price and it was an award winner. But
Yeah. Many award winners, many
yes,
awards.
but so I'll have maybe two or three people will check it out
Mm,
until we get to book club, and then after that, not so much.
yeah.
So, and it is a question of getting in the library because our library was also put all the way at the end of a hallway, dead end hallway, so it's
Hmm.
not on the way to anywhere. So,
Right. Well, we
Um,
can't change the locations.
yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like the question is how to lure people in. Are you
Yeah.
able, like, like this is something that I thought of because a friend of mine was at a library where, like a public library, where they didn't, where paperback books weren't checked out. You could just take them and bring them back. And then like that made me think of the little free library in my neighborhood. And I wondered, is it possible to do like a book cart with like a selection of books in a more public area? Or some kind of display. Like if you do displays in like right in the lobby or somewhere, would people like, I don't know.
I've done that
It would work for you guys.
I've done that in the library where in my own synagogue where I'm the librarian. And what I found is that some books go out, maybe they'll come back, but because of the area that it's in, anytime there's an event, no matter how big or small, they clear off the library table. And the last time, I still haven't found any where they put the stuff. So, unfortunately, you have to deal with other people who aren't always informing you of what they do.
I'm not sure ours would get checked out that way if they weren't in the library, but we actually do have a little free library outside the synagogue. And I put, donations of things that are duplicates out there for people.
That's a
But I'm
nice
always
idea.
afraid, within the synagogue, to have any kind of a giveaway inside the synagogue, because
Yeah,
then they get confused. When do they need to check a book out and when can they just take the book?
right.
But
And then
one
you get
thing
the
that
giveaways back and you never get the
Yeah,
real
but what I'm
ones.
trying to do more and more of, and sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. If there's an event going on, say a genealogy lecture, I'll set up a table display with books from the library that they could check out at the time of the lectures.
Yeah, I do the
Don't
same
always
thing.
get much response, but at least it shows them that we have
In
books.
fact, um I was in the library an hour ago, and a woman came in. I think she's a teacher, but I'm not sure. I've never seen her before. She wanted books on Israel for children. And the nonfiction Israeli books are not really great. So I showed her what I had. She didn't want to really look at them. I don't know whether there were too many or the fact that they were not, totally up to date. And she said, oh, she'll go and she'll look at her PJ library books again, which was a little disturbing. But I've been trying to, I don't know if anybody else has this problem, but I've been really trying to update the books, the factual books on Israel. And there really isn't a lot. Maybe as a public librarian, Aviva, you've seen things.
Well, they do the nonfiction series on the different countries,
I
but
know.
unfortunately,
Kind of the main thing that I would have access to over here.
fortunately, a lot of times they're written by non-Jews and they're not
Yeah.
always factual. That's the problem.
Well, when I
But
was in the
doesn't
public library,
AJL do reviews of those?
yeah, they do. When I was working in the public library, I bought a lot of country books from those series. But Israel is problematic because of who's writing the book, the publisher sometimes, um, the timing of the book. That's why I asked you, because Aviva, because you're in a public library and you might be buying country books.
I mean, my current favorite source for that kind of thing, that like kind of series nonfiction where it's like, is Bellwether Media. I'm
Oh, I
pretty
don't know
sure that
them.
it's, and so I'm pretty sure their Israel book is not terribly old, but it's because it's meant for younger kids, it's pretty simple and neutral. I'll have
Yeah.
to run and think if it's on the shelf. I'm actually not sure if I have it at the
Well,
moment.
neutral's good.
I'm not
Yeah.
familiar with that one. You'll have to
Oh, yeah. Let me see.
know what it
I
is.
should be able to put it in the chat. Hang on.
'Cause I have come up with a handful, but not.
I mean, there are
Yeah.
some
I mean, this book is
topical.
hardcover, so it can be a little expensive. But if you're just buying one or two books, and if
Yeah,
this is the
those
best
books
source of your
because
books,
they're only
yeah, so they
available
have
in
a few.
library bound and
Right. So they have a bunch of different Israel books.
oh,
I guess from different there's three, so I guess they're either different pub years or different reading levels. Um,
What's the name of the publisher?
So here, I'll put it in the chat. It's Bellwether Media. I would have, like I said, though, I'd have to run and check my shelves to see if the
Yeah.
one, if we have any at the moment. But in my experience, their stuff is kind of simple and neutral. But I don't think one of these I don't think I have yet. So I would have to, or
Yeah.
it's from 2018, so like, if you're just looking, but there's
But at
one
least
from
that's
23,
information.
it's something. Yeah. Yeah, do I have that one? Let me see.
Does anybody have any kids' websites with information on Israel that you would recommend to your teachers?
I wouldn't know. I don't work with anybody because the library is a classroom. So I've offered to come in and give presentations on how to use the library. And the director of the Sunday school says, well, yeah, we'd like that. And he says, let me get back to you. And every time I ask him, well, let me get back to you and think about it. And it doesn't happen. So
Exactly. Exactly.
And when they do ask me, because I was so excited recently, I got asked twice by teachers. They ask me the day before they need it, as opposed to, the week before they need it, because they don't do their lesson plans till the day before, and then I'm hustling to try to get over to the library to pull titles for them. But I was so excited because recently I did have one or two teachers. Well, actually, they didn't reach out to me. They reached out to the head of the education director, and she reached out to me.
Well, that's better than the morning of,
Yeah,
at 5 minutes of 9
yeah.
on a Sunday morning. I need whatever.
I
I
did
did
it.
have one encouraging thing was uh, for years I've been doing lessons, usually every other week, with the K to 2. And I've always said I would really like to meet the older kids too, because I can, they're, they do a lot of topical work, and there's so many resources. And again, they're so scheduled, but he told me that next year I might have grade 3. So that's at least a little progress. Though I really think that the older kids should have some exposure to the library.
I did it once last year, not this year, last year in 2023, 24.
Yeah.
And kids came in from a class and they had one of the kids was, I guess, autistic and had a meltdown while they were in there. So,
That happens.
but they haven't asked me back again. So, and since
Maxine has her
I'm not
hand
on
up.
campus, unless I'm asked to be on, at the synagogue. So it's not
As
like you call up and say, can you be here in 5 minutes? That's kind of difficult.
Yeah, well, I have regular hours, only 6 hours a week,
Volunteer.
which is not a lot to
well, that's
run
what I
Volunteer.
the
have.
library.
I
That's
don't
what I
have
have.
hours. I have a question. How many of you actually have a budget? My budget is $400 for the year.
Mine is 1,800, but that includes the fee for my for the circulation system.
Yeah,
So I pay,
I'm only budgeted for the support of the circulation system, and I think maybe $200 more for supplies. All the money for books comes from donations
Yeah.
from my library.
But somebody was asking for a website
Is that
with
Maxine
information and Israel.
talking?
Yeah. Yes, that's
Okay.
Maxine talking.
Okay.
And has anyone, if you're on the Hassafran list, Jacob Richman has a site that has, I think he has just about everything Israel on it. And he's, it's worth looking into.
Does he have kid stuff?
He has some kid stuff.
Because my impression that it's mostly adult.
Well, he has
Under
games. and
It definitely
things.
has kid stuff. Like there's definitely lists and like coloring pages and things like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, also like I don't know, I haven't like taken a good look at the Jewish Values Finder, and I know we had some discussions about like trying whether we should maintain it or not, but that must be a way to like dig up Israel related books.
Yeah, you should be able to on that.
There, yeah, like I know there's been a few picture books. There's been a few good books lately, just not a lot. Like if you have older kids, The Miracle Seed would be so amazing
Oh,
for a religious school
yeah.
class.
I suggested some a couple of things to her, like the Miracle Seed, but she was looking for facts about Israel.
Right, like a list of facts.
You
Ugh.
know, like one of those series books,
Right,
countries
yeah.
of the world things. And I
Hmm.
think you can learn just as much from the Miracle Seed or what's the name? Pebble.
A feather, a pebble, a
Yeah,
shell.
yeah,
Yeah, that one was so good.
yeah.
Trying to remember there have been another one that would be so great for younger kids because it's like a chapter book is The Treasure of Tel Marisha by
Oh, that
Tamar
one I don't
Stein.
know.
Oh, it's so cute. So it's like got this like kind of modern day and like historical dual storyline thing of a little girl who's at an archaeological dig, and then a kid her age who like lived in that ancient site. And it's really cute. It's really cute. I think the author is going to be presenting at AJL about archaeology and like using it as a lesson. And I like archaeology, but that book I think it fills that like age level of like kind of like a roughly second grade level chapter book. Um,
Do you
Is
know
it
who
and
the
short
it's
enough?
so
author?
interesting.
Who's the author?
Tamar Stein. Here, I'll put this one in the chat also.
Is it short enough to be a read aloud?
I mean it's comparable to something like maybe not quite an A to Z mystery, but something like that. Like so, it could definitely be read aloud, but not in one sitting.
But not in one sitting. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But like the archaeology is such a big deal in Israel, and I love that
It's
it
true.
ties together the past and like it. Sometimes historical books don't really seem very historical,
Yeah.
but that part of the story, as far as I could tell, seems very well done. Yeah, I'm putting the title in the chat.
Yeah, I do have that one.
It definitely seems like a useful tool
No,
for
I
an
don't
Israeli
have that.
student.
Tell. I think it's for next year I spent my money.
I was just looking to see if I had that's my newest book. But I don't have any recent Israel informational books.
Yeah, it's a challenge.
I'm looking. I'm back to 2018. I haven't found one yet.
Mm.
So,
Right. So I think
um,
one of those bellwether media ones that I mentioned is from 2023. I think that's probably the most recent one
Yeah.
oh, okay.
I could
So
locate.
just go to Bellwether Media and put in Israel and they'll come up.
Yeah.
I just ordered some books from my library system to see what they looked like because I'm doing Israel in a couple of weeks. So I needed some up-to-date material, so I'm going to see if they're worth buying before I actually shell out the money for them.
So, Eileen, how often do you meet with those kids?
I meet with them every other week. Well, every other week. I meet Kay and one on one week, and then the second graders on the following week. So I
And
have classes every week.
how long is your class?
Half an hour.
Yeah, that's what I had. That's what mine
Yeah.
is.
And I usually, I've asked them for input, what would they like me to do? And they usually just say basically anything you want. And so I kind of follow the calendar. And then I have some themes that work. And, it changes from year to year. But the teachers seem happy with what I do. And I try to tie a lot of stuff together and expose the kids to things that they might not be getting in religious school, like biographies and world jewelry, because I don't see them doing that. And um, I'll be doing Israel because, Israel's coming up. And this week I'm going to do Rosh Chodesh because Rosh Chodesh is Monday and Tuesday. And it doesn't make sense to talk about Rosh Chodesh when it's not when it's a week and a half away, but this time it works out. And they're fascinated by the moon. A little bit of science. I bring in art. I'll photocopy pictures of, let's say, Esther when I'm talking about Purim, famous artists.
So Aviva, going back to Israel, have you like read through those books from Bellwether to see how good a job they do with the facts?
So I don't think I've seen that Israel one. It doesn't seem to be on my shelf, but I'm gonna check and make sure. But the other ones from that series, like they're very straightforward. Like they're not like political, as it were. Like they're basically telling you facts about the place. Like they'll mention foods, a few like famous people might have heard of, like locations. Um, I can run and check for at least one of the books from that series if you don't. You can keep
Well,
talking for a second. We'll grab one.
I mean, they should have be reviewing them at AJL because they try to do that, I think,
They do.
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
find out because
Yeah,
the
I think
one
it
I'm
can be tough
looking
to get
at
these like
is,
kind of trade publishers that are like, for like random people aren't buying these books. It's like libraries or schools that are. So
uh,
I don't know. Maybe I should find a contact there and see what we can find. And take a look.
Sometimes the problem with those books is not the fact that it's a format, it's almost a template. It's the choice of a word to describe something. And that's where you get the politicizing.
the hit related. Sometimes it's the history there. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I'll be curious to see if they're reviewed by AJL because, as I said, some of them um, tend to have misinformation. So
And
you know,
misinformation, right?
but you don't know until you buy it and you have it, unless you can find it at the public
And
library.
the older ones, it's kind of like, oh, everybody's living together happily. Here's Jerusalem, and all these diverse people living together, shopping, in the market, and you know, no problems. And then you'll get the opposite, depending on the author's point of view. And of course, since the war, I don't know if there's been anything out for kids.
I don't know if there's been anything.
I haven't seen anything. And you don't want books that ignore situations. You just want it to be objective as you can be, if it's an informational book. So,
So I have another question. What do you do with book donations that you don't need or old books that you're weeding out? Have you found a good place to give them to?
mine go to Better World most of the time.
Okay, yeah, that's what
There's
I.
a donation bin,
Yeah, but
and
But they don't
oh,
have those on the
you
West
just put
Coast.
them in a bin? You don't call them
Better
and
World has bins at a lot of public libraries,
oh, I
and
wish I could
that's what we've
find
been
them.
doing. Um, the ones that are in, outdated and really bad condition, of course, I throw out.
Yeah, they have them here in shopping centers.
Oh, okay.
The Better World. They're like the
Yeah.
big bins that you see that where you can donate
Yeah,
clothes
yeah.
and
Yeah, it's the
well, I
size of
have
a
a
dumpster,
I do have
basically.
that. That's
Yeah.
where most of mine go.
There
We
aren't
don't have
any
that
in
option. And
California.
the local library will not take old library books.
Uh,
Uh, we have an account with Better World Books, and they give us a small percentage for whichever books that they choose. They choose which ones you send them.
Yeah. Well, if you send them, but this is just a dump.
Yeah,
there's
You just
our,
pick
our
that's
books
box.
that's what I've been looking for,
our books
because
have
I've got
identification
about
in
two
them,
boxes
so
right now of
yeah.
Well,
I used to
weeded
do.
books that just don't go anywhere.
Maxine, you should ask Better World where the closest bin is.
They don't have one in our area.
They don't.
There's somebody called Discover Books, and I've tried to find their bins, and their bins are like in the back lot of the library where you can't reach them.
Oh,
Yeah,
so what's the point? Are they just meant for the library?
I called them up, and they said that they don't. They're not taking books right now,
Oh,
and I'm like, oh, that's real handy.
yeah, right.
I found someone in Orange County, California, up in Garden Grove, and I'm in Westminster, and they said, yeah, they would take them. So we brought some books to their house, and they said, well, we picked books up from you before, and then we had more. So we brought, they said they'd come get them. So they came to my house and got them because they were
Wow.
all at my house. And so they've been to my synagogue, my house, and I've been to their townhouse and dropped books off, and they'll just take whatever. And they donate them to hospitals, and they don't
Mhm.
care. If they can't do anything with it, I'm sure they'll dispose of it, but they had a garage full of books,
Huh.
They might
boxes,
sell them.
walls full of books. And I used a guy called Henry Hollander Booksellers, but he was going to library school, not library school, rabbinical school. He was in his
Mm.
final semester of rabbinical school at the Ziegler School of, you know, being a rabbi. And he says school starts in a couple of days and I can't bring any more. And he filled up his car and he couldn't take any more. But he said, once I'm a rabbi, I probably won't have time. It was his last semester. And, here's a guy that looks like he's about 60 and he's going to be a rabbi for the first time. So I used to give them to the Friends of the Library at the Westminster Public Library from Orange County Public Library, but they won't take them anymore.
Nope, because they don't sell, and that
Yeah.
means they have to get rid of them.
So,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
why I'm happy that we have the Better World box, and I just dump them in and say, well, if they can use them, fine. If not, they'll get rid of them. But
I
it's
used to actually go through them and send them to sell, but it was so labor intensive, and the return wasn't worth the time.
I do have somebody that's offered to take some of our book donations and post them on eBay because she said she was managing. That's very time consuming. So, but I still have a bunch of stuff, and people, we finally had to tell people at our library, you cannot just dump boxes
We,
of books off in the library. You have to
yeah,
call me, send me pictures of the books, and
yeah,
I'll tell you if I want any, so
we have the same policy, though
yeah.
every so often you'll get somebody who kind of sneaks around in the night, I think, and
And
drops them
a
by the
bag of
door.
books. Oh, look at this.
Yeah.
Here's a bag of books. I still have a box of very heavy duty scholarly series books that I have to deal with. But we do have a from listserv kind of place in Atlanta where you can post messages.
Mm.
And
Oh,
I did that one time. I had like 5 boxes of books in my trunk and I met with a couple people and they took a bunch. But
hmm.
yeah,
I
because
know our local
but
Chabad will
that was
take.
something that somebody dumped in the library and I don't know who it belongs to. I would give it back if I could. This series of, scholarly books all in Hebrew. It wasn't Mishnah, it was something else. I don't remember what it was.
Check with your local Chabad. Ours will take any reasonably good shape Talmudim,
Oh,
Sefarim, things like
oh,
that.
I will ask him about that series. I actually have in my library two big tall bookshelves. When our senior rabbi retired, he didn't want all these heavy duty series. So they put two bookshelves in the library with all those books which nobody touches. But I'm not even cataloging them because nobody's using them. So I don't know what will happen with those, but
We've got a couple of series like that. Because we have an Ivy League school nearby, and several of the professors there, they have a Judaic studies segment, and then they have a women's studies segment. And both of those people have passed on, and we got their books.
Oh,
They
does
sit up on the
anybody
top
use
shelf.
the Maxine?
No, no one does.
Because I tried to give some of those kind of books to Emory because they have a Jewish studies department. They said, nope, we don't want anybody, we don't want any donations. No, thank you. So, but yeah, I don't think I've tried Chabad for this one set. It's been sitting in my corner in a box. I will.
that's a good idea.
Yeah, I'll have to try them.
Well, I got rid of 1,500 books a couple of years ago because they said we need the youth lounge for a preschool classroom. So the library is going to be the youth lounge. So you got to get rid of. So I was at about 3,000 books total. Now I'm at about 1,500 books total. And it was just okay. I went through, I picked out books. They put them in, my husband and my library partner put them in boxes, and we got rid of them. And I'm just finishing getting rid of all the books out of ResourceMate that should have been gotten rid of, a year and a half, 2 years ago, but I'm slow. And so now everything's gone. The adult section is 300 and maybe 10 books. The kids section's maybe 1,100 or 1,200. And the reference section is 100.
Yeah, wow. Well, we're trying to figure out how to put a lot of the reference books on, connect them. We use, what do you call it? Opals. And
Yeah,
we're trying to connect opals to like Safaria so that we can clear off some shelf space with 'cause I mean we have like 4 different uh sets of Talmud.
Oh, yeah. Takes up a lot of space.
Yep.
It does.
that's what
I
I'm
got-
going to tackle next is we it's a it's an old congregation. It's like over 150 years old. And it's also a merged congregation. So we have a lot of old books that no one is using, a lot of religious books, and multiple copies of things like Talmud and Midrash and so forth. Um, and I need to clean a lot of it out and just keep things that people are actually going to use. And I don't know what to do with the old ones. I don't think that I don't know if they're in good enough condition to call a rare bookseller or a
You
Judaica.
well you can look into that, or uh you can ask your rabbi to put them in the Geniza.
It's a
Our
lot of
rabbi,
books. It would be a
yeah,
lot of graves would have to be
I know.
opened.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
I mean that's what we've
yeah,
been doing. I had
yeah.
one
Well,
guy recently just donate 40 books,
that's a
uh,
lot.
Machzorim, and they put 4 or 5 books in each grave, and
Yeah,
with older congregants, you have a
right.
lot of that.
Yeah.
Much as it's, a sad thing to, oh, today's Saturday. Oops, Wednesday. Never mind, sorry. I just realized I have a Shiva call, speaking of
Oh,
dead people. Uh, but that's later. Um, but I mean, what are you gonna do?
right.
I mean, I have one book. It's a huge oversize book that sells for like close to $1,000. And I'm not putting that on my dollar cart, which is where I put all the books that I pull.
Oh,
and also any of the books that people donate. And if you want a book, you know, it's $1.
so how do you collect the money?
We have a box, and the cart is right outside the office. So the office manager checks it every day. I check it when I come in. If I notice
This
there's
box
empty
with the
space on the
cart?
cart. What?
It's just a box there with next to the cart where they can put the dollar in,
Yep,
like a
that's
shoebox
it.
or something.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Some,
I'm gonna try that.
That's a good idea.
I'm gonna try that. You know,
uh,
we have our 50th anniversary coming up, our gala, and you know, he had informed me, well, we're gonna have to, you know, clear off the all the tops of the display shelves and everything that's on the top. And we're gonna have to clear off everything that's on the circulation desk. They're even unhooking the computer and packing it away because they want it. They're gonna be
If you
setting
wait
up
20
all
minutes, I
this
will.
food and all, you know,
Mhm.
because we have so many people coming, they have to spread through the whole synagogue. So I'm like, what? So, but once we get through that, I think I will try that because I do have a lot of books. And in fact, I have a whole stack sitting right behind me here of books that I've weeded and I was, you know, getting ready to discard. So I could start by putting them on this cart. And then if that doesn't work, I'll
yeah,
throw them in the Better World Books box. But maybe we could make, because you
well,
know, I tried Half Price Bookstore a couple times. But you know,
they
I
don't want
bring in
them.
a big box of books and they say, okay, $6.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of ridiculous. So, but
Mm,
yeah. So anyway, we just went in actually, we have self-checkout. Our library is not in a room that can be locked.
right.
And we just went in 2 days ago and we cleaned everything, we said, let us put it away and then we'll know where it is. And my coworker took home the sign with the checkout directions and the little box that people put their cards in. She's taking it home so it doesn't get lost. And all my lucite display things where I have signs, they're all broken. I don't know what people do with them, but I have to buy all new ones because I don't, I mean, they're not really in spots where they should be getting moved around, but very frustrating
Yeah.
to have an open library like that. But
Yeah, we have this have similar problem, and I came in and there was about a 6-year segment between when the woman who taught me when I was a volunteer and the couple of people that they tried as librarians who didn't seem to do much. And I ended up reading we have had about 7,000 books. We now are down to about 6,000 and change. And we weeded about 1,500 books out. And some of them that was one of the reasons we went to with Better World Books. We figured we might have enough. And we still haven't got our first paycheck yet. But you pull these books and what are you going to do with them? We ended up taking about another 10, it was close to 20 boxes and donating them to this resale shop in Connecticut.
Where are you
Uh,
located?
We're in Rhode Island.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, Connecticut's next door, but
Yeah.
it's an hour and a half
Are you in
drive.
Providence?
Yes,
Oh, so
Oh,
you must have been
okay.
talking about Brown as the Ivy League
yeah.
school. Yeah.
And we had Jacob Neusner. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
Yeah.
He donated his collection to us. I have it on 2 shelves that are only reachable by ladder
Oh,
because it's like nobody reads them.
yeah. But he was a big name.
Yeah.
And he taught at Brown for a long time.
I was actually excited. My 5th grade teacher that has her class in the library, She actually is letting me do something now. It's been the second year for Jewish Book Month. We do an activity with the kids, and then some of them actually, actually take checkbooks out, and it's very exciting because I very rarely get the older books. I very rarely buy the young adult books because they never get
Mhm.
checked out. But I'm buying like
Yeah.
for this age because like the award books and things because they are checking out once a year. So that was exciting. But
It's frustrating
it's
as
a
a
struggle.
librarian.
But you know
Yeah,
what? It's always been like that. I mean, I've been a
I know.
librarian for years, and we've always had to sell our library and to get people to use the library. But I do find it's less and less
Yeah.
now with all the electronics. I mean, even with the kids, they want to do all their research online, even the kids.
Well, that's understandable because the research online is a lot more recent. Of course,
Yeah.
where it's from and who's putting it there is a whole nother story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the thing is, with the younger kids, a lot of it, very little of it's geared for, younger kids' reading levels. So,
It's true.
I know it's either the read aloud books or I tried to get some books. I had one girl who actually came in and said, I really want to read stuff. And I pointed her to the young adult because she's about fourth or fifth grade, and she was like, those are too hard. And I'm trying to find chapter books.
for what age?
She's fourth, fifth grade, so she's like 9, 10, thereabouts.
Yeah.
And I've been going into the what do you call it, the graphic novels.
Mm.
Yeah.
They've got a fair number of those, and
Yeah, they're
those
coming
actually
out.
do get read.
Mhm.
We have the Rabbi Harvey
Yeah.
series. I've actually got someone reading that right now, but they won't take the book out. They put it back on the shelf with a bookmark in it.
It's almost like the older kids are embarrassed for the other kids to see that they're reading a book,
That's sad.
that they're
That's
taking a
so
book
sad.
home to read, because I had some kids in there the other day and they were picked up the books and they were looking at them but when they left the library I said you can check it out, but they put it right back where they found it. So
Yeah,
Well,
I have
that's a
to see
good
that
thing.
too.
yeah, but yeah, there are more graphic novels. P I PJI Our Way does have some books for that level. And I kind of maintain our little free library. I kind of go out there and see what's in there and pull things if they've been in there too long or the other day I went out there and somebody had donated 10 PJ Our Way instead of donating it to library to
They,
me, and I pulled them all out because they were perfect for these fourth, fifth graders, and most of them, some of their books don't have a lot of Jewish content, but some of them are pretty good. So I was like, I wish do they not know we have a library that they should
Some
donate?
people don't.
Yeah. So as much as I have the library news in there, I have it in every month, but do people read my page in the newsletter? Not necessarily. So
no, ours is online, and when
yeah,
you
ours is
look
too.
Ours
when you
is too.
look at it, uh, the library stuff, if like I get it on Gmail, and you have to go all the way to the bottom, and then click on look at the whole thing, and then you get to the part with we call it new and interesting reads. I try to put like 2 or 3 books out there a week.
Well, you know what they just did with ours. Most people get it online now, our
Yeah,
newsletter. But they just redid it and now they have a table of contents in the very front. It's got pages just like when it was print. And the library is actually one of the ones listed, so you can go right to the library page. So I'm hoping
I
they'll help.
think I'm gonna
We also
suggest
have
that.
we also have a weekly thing, and I haven't been putting anything in, but that's a good idea, Maxine, to put 2 or 3 books. I may not do it. Maxine, are you paid for what you do?
I have to be paid because I have access to the temple webs, files.
Oh,
Because I told them I'd be perfectly happy to do this as a volunteer. And I would put in much more than my 6 hours a week if I was. But it's hard. And basically, like I said, I would have volunteered, so I make a donation every month, so I have plenty of money to buy books. But we had a temple in southeastern Massachusetts is closing, or they're selling their building, and they're over 100 years old. And they'd offered us, come take as many books as you want. I think we ended up with like 40 books because, a lot of the stuff is very old. A lot of it is stuff we already have. And some of it is just so outdated that, it's like, what are you going to do with it?
do you put PJ library books that are donated into your library?
We get them every month, and I did have someone donate about 150 of them. And I went through and found the ones that we didn't have, and I added those.
Does your library
the same
actually
thing.
get the PJ library books? Do they
We
send?
get the PJ, the little kid books. We don't get the middle grade, which I've got to try and figure out how to get them to start sending those.
They
Because
don't seem to
our
want to.
preschool director gets them, but I haven't, but she doesn't always pass them along to me. So I guess I should contact them and try to get them to send another copy along just for me.
I get
For your library.
just the younger ones. I've tried to get the older ones. I met the new person that's in charge with the Jewish Federation of Orange County. She gave me like 12 of the PJR way. I said, "Can I get on the subscription?" "Oh, well, you're not a kid. They won't do that." And I've tried, but I do get, and I add them to the collection if I don't already have them because I don't have any budget. And it's a way to get new books in the library. And the preschool gets copies. Some of the teachers have their own personal copy going to our preschool.
Well, I just met the Federation person that's doing PJ Library recently. She came, they had a day where different tables were there. She said I can go by. They have a whole huge bookshelf full of PJ Library books, at the Federation. I could come and take whatever I want. So I need to follow up on that and see if there's any that I don't own, any that I don't own. The only problem I find sometimes when I check out the PJ Library books to my K through 2 kids, sometimes the parents get confused and they don't remember that particular PJ Library book is a library book and not, and they'll donate them, they'll get rid of them. Yeah, oh, I just gave those.
Yep.
So so it's kind of a quandary, what do I do? Do I spend the money and get the hardcover so they know it's a library book? Or do I take the donations and do the, do the
One thing that I've started doing, which seems to help. Matter of fact, one of the teachers out, they kept asking me, can you have any books on Shabbat? Do you have any books on this kind of values or something like here or something? I had time uh at one point, and I took all the kids' books and I divided them up into about 12 or 15 different categories. And our local uh kind of like Michael's store had tons and tons of that the tape that they use for for decorating their scrapbooks. And I got 20 of those, 20 different ones. And all the Israel books have tape on the top corner. All the Shabbat books have tape on the top corner, different tape. Same thing for Jewish values. There's one for grandparents. There's one for
Is it on the spine?
yes, at the very top. It's a half-inch, half-inch piece of tape.
It's just a
And you
color,
put
a
about
color coding.
yes, and it's two things. One, it makes it easier for you to straighten the books out. And two, I'm noticing that the teachers are coming in on Shabbat and they're taking up 3 or 4 books.
Do you have those shelves labeled also, or just?
Yes, yeah, the shelves are labeled as well.
Yeah.
So
With-
you've sorted your books by topic rather than by
Right. I mean,
Julie or
you can do
something.
whatever topics work for you.
Yeah.
I've got grandparents, I've got old country, I've got new country, I've got historical, the ones that are actual history books. And then of course there are the holiday ones that you just take those out, and those don't have anything on them because I keep those in the back where they can't mix them up. Have any of you taken the librarian course, the Jewish librarian course?
I was on the committee to help plan what the classes were gonna be. I was one of the members of the committee, but no, I
Ah.
haven't taken the synagogue. Because I went to library school, I figured I
Yeah, you
taped
probably
them
don't need
all.
it.
So
Yeah,
I'm
see,
gonna
I
on Sunday
took that
watch some of
class.
them.
Yeah.
One of
I
my
took-
one of our congregants who was in library school, though she's not planning to be a public or a school or any kind of
Yeah.
librarian like that, offered to be a volunteer in my library, and I suggested that she take the course, and she said it was good.
It was wonderful.
Yeah, it sounded like the kind of thing that I wish had been around when I started.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still kind of iffy on how to decide what to buy. So it's a
That's
lot of it's
always
the
hard.
things that I'm interested in, or the things that I see that there are areas where, we only have a couple of books on science and Judaism. And I'd love to, make that area more relevant.
Well, Max,
Well, there
Um,
probably aren't that many more.
are
No,
people
there aren't too
checking
many.
those books out? Because like, in my library, I don't have the adults taking out any of my nonfiction stuff. They're not taking out any of it. If they want to find something out, they go online. In
If
nonfiction.
Yeah,
So
if I'm lucky, they take out about 30 or 40 books a month, which makes my 6 hours a week.
that's
know.
great because we don't have that. We don't
Yeah,
have
we
the
don't
adults
either.
taking out all those books. So they really do
Of
not.
course, getting the books back is the other half.
Yeah,
Tell me about it. I just spent 2 hours online doing overdues for the school. So, because we only have 2 more Sundays left. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I've had
Well,
trying to get
I have to leave. This was got some
Yeah, it's
ideas.
5 o'clock.
Thank you for sharing, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. I think I've learned a few things, and I really appreciate
Maxine,
the
how large is your synagogue?
I think it's about 800 families.
Oh yeah, mine's about 550.
we have
Yeah.
250.
Yeah.
Well, my previous temple closed, and the people split up between another conservative temple and a couple of the reform temples.
So what is your synagogue? Is it reform or conservative or?
It's conservative,
Mm-hmm.
and
Well, you're welcome to call me and we can, either of you, we can exchange some more ideas. I've been doing this synagogue library thing for like over 30 years.
I've been
at
doing
my
it.
library. So,
It's
uh,
1994, and I started in the library world in 88, and I retired in 2012. And
yeah. So I've been
Well,
doing the
please,
synagogue
yeah.
thing. I've been a member of AJL for many, many years,
Well, I'm fairly new to it,
but I
and
was always working also as a librarian, paid librarian. So
yeah,
until I retired about 4 or 5 years ago. So,
yeah.
um,
No, I was in electronics, and then I was in printing, and then I was in printing electronics, and then I got laid off, and I started volunteering at the library, and they all said, gee, you do good stuff. So I mean, the woman who taught me is now working with the National Library, Israel Library, Tova Rice. And so, I mean, I have no library background other than, as a happy user.
are you coming to the conference?
Not the digital one. I'll probably come to the one next year.
Because yeah, it's a wonderful place to get ideas, there's on what to buy and
Mhm.
yeah, where is it going to be next year?
I
I don't
don't
know.
know. I
Hopefully the East Coast.
somebody said, no,
Uh,
that can't be. I heard Chicago, but I think you just
I
had it
don't
in
think East
Chicago.
Coast because recently it was in Philadelphia, I think.
So
Oh, I
maybe
missed that one.
Chicago.
Yeah, I caught the one in Philadelphia because I'm from Philadelphia, even though I'm down in Marietta in Atlanta area. But I caught the one in Philly. I stayed with my brother and just took public
I went
transportation
I
and
went to the one
everything.
in Woodland
San
Hills and the one
Diego?
in San Diego.
Yeah, I
But
was there.
if you have the time, you might want to think about you know,
The
the
digital one.
conference that's the digital one. It's wonderful. It's just as good as the one in person, I think. And just about the only, you do you really get a lot of great ideas. It's definitely worthwhile.
I'm not going to be at the digital one because I'll be on vacation, but I bought it and I'm going to watch it when I get home.
Yeah, they are recording it this year. Yeah.
That's
They recorded it last year, and I couldn't figure out how to download them.
Oh, I didn't know they recorded it last year.
Yeah.
since it's been digital, they've been recording them, and I just watched the digital. The first
Yeah.
couple of years I watched it on, live, first 3 years, and now that's when my husband can take a vacation.
But
So
they
we go
usually,
away
yeah,
and I just watch them over the
they
year.
usually have a session on great new adult fiction. And
Mhm.
then there's always, a really great session on the children's books, the new children's books that have come out that year. So I get a lot of good ideas. My problem is I don't have the money to buy these.
Yeah.
I have these long lists, but I can't buy them, all the books I want to buy because I don't have the money.
But they don't give me money for books, so
No,
I
they
buy
don't give
the
me money
Sidney
for
Taylor
books.
Awards, the winners, and I buy the Jewish Book Council for kids and teenagers winners. So I buy 6 books out of my own pocket, and I pay for Resource Mate and the OPAC by Resource Mate. The temple pays for those 2 things, and that's all they can afford to pay for.
What's Resource Mate?
My OPAC, my online
Oh,
public
oh,
access
oh,
catalog, my card catalog.
oh,
A
okay.
lot of synagogues use Resource Mate. So they'll pay for that and they'll pay for the OPAC for Resource Mate. And
Do
that's
you know
it.
how, do you know how much Resource Mate goes for?
I spend about $400 a year. The first year, it's like 800, and then it goes down once you buy it and you just upkeep every year. It's like 100 and something for the upkeep and like 200 for the OPAC. So
Is it
it comes out to
circulation
close to
too,
400.
or is it just a catalog?
It's catalog. It can do circulation, although I don't have anyone there to do circulation. So circulation is just put the card in a box.
Yeah, we have cards in the box, but then when I come in every week, I put it into the computer.
I'm
I
not
wish I wish
there
I could.
because it's just, you
Maxine, you
know,
don't have an online catalog?
We're using Opals,
Opus
and
is
we
great, isn't
could,
it?
but uh
you guys use do you use Elazar?
yes.
No, I like wine.
Oh,
Yeah.
So,
We
I
use
keep,
Elazar.
I keep saying I'm going to learn wine just to learn it, but I've been using Elazar for so long. It's like, I
yeah.
don't even
Well,
think
you know
about it.
why I started with wine because I used to be a day school librarian,
Oh, okay.
and it's very similar to Dewey. So we could interfile our Judaica books in with our regular Dewey books on the shelf. And
Mhm.
so,
Okay.
since I had wine, at the day school, I went with wine at the synagogue library too. So, and I am very happy with that. I'm not familiar with Elazar at all. So,
When I worked at the day school library as a volunteer for 7 years as their librarian, I used Dewey because there was just too much other stuff in there. And then when I got to the synagogue, they said, here's an Elazar book. I said, okay, let me study it.
well,
I
see,
read the
yeah.
book. I read the front section, which tells you what to do like 3 times. So I said, okay. And I started going.
Yeah.
Elazar was so easy. I look at the wine stuff online and I don't understand it.
Oh, it's very simple. I mean, they have a number for every holiday. They have a number for, I mean,
Mm.
it's really very simple.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Someday I'm going to print out the
Oh, you
beginning
don't want to
stuff.
change. If you've got all your stuff in one, it's
I'm
a
not changing it just to learn it, just to
Ah,
say I learned
I'm
it.
never going to change. In fact, I was given the money back when I went online to get Follett as my online catalog, which is what they were using in the school system. It's mostly for bigger libraries, but she gave me the money for it. And I think it's cost me 650 a year, and that includes updates. They they do all my backups. It's all online and um
Yeah.
but I'm
It's
just
like
waiting. So,
Opals.
this year he was like, is there something cheaper you could get? But the time it would take to switch from one system to another. I
And
said,
that
are you
takes a lot of
paying me to
time.
switch it from, the amount of money is going to cost you for me to change it. We're just so far they've been letting me do it. That's why I keep the circulation stats.
How
So,
many
at the
books do
end of
you
every year,
have?
she asks me for a report, and I tell her how many, books have been checked out and how many we have in the collection. And then we put the stats everybody does an annual report in our bulletin at the,
I
and
don't even know because, I can't find the one box is empty and the other box I can't find. So I've got to write to the Sunday school director and say, do you know where the box went for
well,
checkout for the,
Mm.
little kids' books? Because I can't find it. And I know where it should be and it's not there. And I looked all over his office and
oh, the
I cannot.
checkout box. That's why I had her take it home because they told me they're packing up everything for the gala. And so we went in. I said, well, let me show you where we're going to put this because I'm actually going on vacation. I'm leaving Sunday. So that you can put this back out because the gala's on Sunday. So the checkout, box and the directions. So she said, let me just
Mhm.
take it home with me. I said, great. And she'll put it back out again. And I said to him, I hope you're going to set that computer. They will actually set the computer back up again because the preschool's also using the computer. My library was renovated, I don't remember, like 7 years ago. And they have this really cute kids rug in there in the kids section. And so the preschool uses, whenever it's not nice outside, they come in and they have their play, their recess time is in the library. So, yeah, so, every week I go in and I'm picking up toys and I don't know how many books have walked away. I've never done an inventory, but I know there are books that are missing because it's an open library. Didn't you say yours is open too, Maxine?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I've been doing the inventory recently. I finally figured out how to do it.
Yeah, I've never done an inventory, so
And
We started to. Before then they said, oh, you gotta cut your library down because we need the room for a class. It was already a classroom for Sunday school, but we
yeah,
needed for the youth lounge. I went in there today. It was a mess. I mean, the
well,
two
if they're
shelves
using
I
it as
have
the
for books were fine, but the rest of the library looked like a disaster zone, the
yeah.
rest of
yep.
the room. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I've got to tell the office manager that, you know, they need to clean up the room a little bit because it looks like a disaster zone.
Do
And
you know? Yeah.
so,
You know what my preschoolers like to do? I had one year when I had this kid, he loved to push all the books all the way to the back of the shelf. I don't know if you've ever had that.
yeah,
So we'd come in every week and we'd have to pull back up. Then I found that you could take empty soda can boxes,
mm-hmm.
put them behind the books so that they can't push them back, except when you have big books, oversized.
Yeah, then,
doesn't
then
work,
it's a problem.
but still it, you know, but he, thank goodness he went off to kindergarten. I don't have that problem so much. Because I said, well, maybe we should, you know, and then if we have a display rack and, you know, that for the religious school with, you know, we put out for the holidays, but the preschool kids were pulling the books off and pulling the pockets out of the backs of the books and things. So I have to turn it around, you know, so that they can't, it doesn't face out. And then, you know, but then I try to get maintenance to turn it out for, you know, but they don't really want to do that. And I'm not in there. I mean, I'm volunteer. Luckily I live a mile down the road, but still. You know, I just tell the teachers when I send a thing out, and the books are out there on display, but you just have to turn it around to see them because we have to keep them that way or the kids in the preschool mess them up. So, yeah, it's crazy.
Well, I'm getting tired here, so I'm gonna,
Yeah, but at least we
Yeah.
have libraries still, right?
yeah.
That's right.
For
We
now.
still have libraries and we still run them. And we may not at some point because, you know, they keep needing more classrooms for the preschool.
Or they want to
That's
turn
their
your
money
library
maker.
into a foyer.
Well, yeah, I'm just, yeah, waiting for the day when he says, they're not using it enough. We don't need a library anymore. But
I know.
um,
That's the sad part.
I wonder if it'll happen, you know, eventually I'm going to be moving about 10 years down the pike. I'm going to move about an hour and 20 minutes from here near my grandkids in about 10 years when the stairs get hard. They're not hard now, but and I don't know what they said, what are they gonna, I mean, I've been doing it for literally over 30 years. So I don't know what they're, you know, what are they gonna do when you're gone? The last library I did up in Syracuse when I was gone, it just became defunct. So I said they're gonna have to hire somebody if they want to keep the library, but
You don't have any volunteers?
nobody that'll do it. I mean, you know, it's a lot of work.
Yeah,
So,
I'm
I mean,
finding that
I
out.
have volunteers that help me. I have people that come in and cover books, and I do have one person actually used to be my boss at the day school who's now back in town and helping me with the library, but nobody wants to be in charge. Nobody wants to, we do have some uh, people, and the problem also with our libraries when they redid the building, they didn't include a librarian on the building committee. Did you? I don't know if you found that at all. But they didn't use, so they put the library in a room that has a fire exit and they can't lock the door. So, because it has a fire exit. So sometimes things walk away, but it is what it is. So, but anyway, and nice talking
Yeah,
to you guys.
yeah, same
Okay,
here.
And as I said, feel free to get in touch if you want to exchange more ideas, Michelle and Maxine.
okay,
How do
I
we get in
will.
touch with you?
Here, I'll put it
Email.
in the chat. Why don't we
Okay.
all put our
I'm on my
emails
chair,
in the
Kitty.
chat?
Okay,
This is me. So that's me. Levine's 2000 is me. I'll write yours down too. Yeah, but before we had Zoom, you know, the only time that the synagogue librarians ever talked was at conference every year.
Sweetheart, I'll get to it.
Okay.
I'm in the middle of a Zoom. Thank you.
Team Pro.
Mm.
I just was kind of surprised.
Maxine. And Michelle, yours is
Library@templebethdavid.org.
library.
I've got a lot of email addresses, but they all go to the same place, so
Temple. Beth. Mine is a conservative synagogue too, by the way.
mine's Reform.
Uh-huh.
It's okay.
Yeah. Well, it does influence what I buy when I'm buying books about religion.
Yeah.
I usually end up buying, not buying too many of the reform books about religion. So, but anyway, nice meeting everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Take care. Be well.
Bye.
Michelle, enjoy your vacation.
Okay, thank you.